Listen, guys, I think that it's going to be just so much more rare for players with the changes in college basketball to stick with programs year after year when there's opportunities for them to leave, and we know how many opportunities there are. And I'm not knocking the guys that leave, but at Cincinnati, we're going to really celebrate the guys that stay around, and they play their last game of eligibility at home at Cincinnati. And David DeJulius has done that. And I know he didn't start here, but he could have left during the transition a couple years ago. He certainly is an all-league guy last year with the ability to leave and play right away, could have left. And he stuck with Cincinnati when he didn't have to and had other options. And he loves this place. He's invested. We are going to celebrate the heck out of those guys moving forward. I think you build programs with guys like that, you take steps forward, and he's given his heart and soul. So I was thrilled tonight that our fans recognized him the way they did when he came out of the game. I just thought that was so special. We have this is just one of those special places in college basketball. Our people get it, like they get it, and that was a moment that he deserved. So I'm happy for him, and it didn't hurt that he goes with the career high 30 and plays the way he does. So really, really cool night for David DeJulius. Certainly you recognize guys like Kalu and Rob. It's not the same because they're here for 1 year, but it's still cool that they finished their eligibility here. And I told Rob I try not to let it creep in my mind, but I think about what it'd have been like if, I could have had him every night, even had him when he came off the injury there, because he would have impacted our team in such a great way. And then Kalu, he's just really, really responded. And we talk about how we want to be a program that responds the right way. He's responded the right way to going through some major ups and downs. Not the year that he wanted, especially early, and not the role that we recruited him to play and he wanted early. But he kind of just kept fighting. And I thought his minutes tonight were terrific, especially in the first half.
Your relationship with Dave, it's a coach and a point guard, you being a former point guard. Can you talk about how that developed all the way to this point where he gets kind of that really bright moment in the sun at home?
Yeah, it's I told him this a month ago or so. We were having coffee across the street here off the campus, and Dave is not an easy nut to crack. You guys that covered him know that. It's been a lot of work trying to build a real, genuine relationship. He doesn't let everybody in, and trying to earn his trust. It's taken a lot of time, and it's made me a much better coach and a much better communicator. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I told him, I said, I really appreciate you've made me a better coach, because it ain't been easy every day. And so I value him in so many ways beyond just who he is on the court. He's pretty damn good on the court. But how about the guy that he is off the court, and how he shows up for things that have nothing to do with name, image, and likeness to support things in this community. Now, a lot of players are doing that now, but they're getting paid. He's just showing up at preschools and middle schools and mentoring kids, and shows up to work camp in the summer, stays extra hours to help kids out. He's really embraced all parts of living in this community. And so, there's a lot of neat things about him, but I am proud of the relationship that we've developed, and like any good relationship, it took some time.
You've done it before, but what does 20 wins mean to you?
Yeah, I do think you step back sometimes. It's not like I sit there coaching thinking about 20 wins. I coach, and I really challenge myself to think about getting better today and controlling what I can control. But if I sit back and dream, the things I dream about are national championships and conference championships and stuff like that. That's what I dream about. But I do think in the same token, you do step back and you go, okay, 20 wins in college basketball in the regular season, something, and it's progress. And I said that to our team and our staff. It doesn't mean that we're going to stop. We ain't satisfied, but I do think it's something. And I think six times now in coaching, I've been a part of teams that did that, and I am proud of that.
Front court depth was kind of a struggle earlier in the year. Now you have Vic, Odie, and Kalu all kind of going a little bit. Is part of that maybe a blessing of Vic's injury? And then does that give you maybe a little different dimension going into the tournament next weekend?
It is. It's like every there's a cause and effect to everything. Vic's injury was tough on our team in a lot of ways, and tough on him, you know. But it gave Kalu some opportunity, and he's not only was prepared for that opportunity by how he's worked, but then he's gotten some confidence with that opportunity, and now he's able to impact the game, you know, in different ways, and we saw that tonight. And you know, now I think we're trying to get Vic back in the grind. It was hard tonight, but I thought he'd be good tonight because he had a good week of practice, but the foul trouble hurt him, and I could have played him a little bit more with two. But I'll tell you what, guys, I got a lot of respect for SMU. You know, it's going through the scouting now, playing them twice, and I wanted to make sure if we needed Vic down the stretch that we had him available.
Your team holds SMU to 34% shooting in the second half, allowed 48% in the first half. Is that kind of the adjustment from one half to the second half that you're looking for defensively, of being able to recognize that they're getting their spots and then taking that away in the second frame?
Yeah, honestly, it's really all we talked about from about the whole game. I mean, all we talked about the whole game was let's sprint back and let's defend our tails off. Because I thought when we were doing that, good things were happening. We obviously had a good rhythm offensively. You know, the ball was going in. And I thought early in the game, the ball was going in so well, it's almost like we didn't have the kind of defensive intensity because it just feels like the game's going well. And I want us to get to the opposite mindset, that our defensive energy and intensity is what it is all the time, regardless of circumstance. And then I thought early in the second half, we were a little lackadaisical and comfortable, you know, maybe for a while there in the second half. But I did think down the stretch we got some necessary stops. They weren't the prettiest ones, but we finally got some stops, and you do look down and you go 34%, and that is what you want to see from a field goal percentage standpoint.
They were shooting it really well from three in the first half, your guys.
Yeah, so I said I think we held SMU to 2
Yeah,
in the first half, if I'm not mistaken.
9 of 17 in the first half, but they didn't rest on it in the second half. Does that show growth from this team that, okay, SMU changed the way that they're defending, they're maybe trying to run us off the line, now we're gonna play downhill, attack, score at the rim, and not settle for jump shots?
Yeah, I thought strategically the game was, I think that's what you're asking about, the strategy. I thought it was really interesting. You know, they were really blitzing the ball screen early, like heavy on everybody. I thought we did a nice job of dealing with that and getting the ball out of our hands and sharing it. And I think we came by some really good shots. They go completely away from it and start dropping everything in the ball screen. And I think all of a sudden you saw us get downhill. And I thought that was a big emphasis. I thought we did a nice job a couple times in some of our like handoff to ball screen actions to hit the roll. And then transition, when we did get live ball stops, and I was begging for more and more of them. I mean, every time out, I'm telling you, all I was talking about was let's get stops. And I thought when we got live ball stops and ran, and we didn't have a silly turnover, we had a couple silly ones, but I thought when we didn't have a silly turnover and ran, I thought we were getting downhill and getting to the rim in transition. So I think that's where you see kind of the discrepancy there, 3s to 2s.
The ball was moving phenomenally tonight, coming off a game at Memphis where you had 20 turnovers. You look down, see 20 assists, just 8 turnovers tonight. How impressed are you with the way the ball was moving on the offensive end tonight?
Yeah, I thought we had a good flow on offense. Again, you as a coach, the turnovers always jump out to you more than the assists, just the way your brain works, because you just cringe every time you see one. And you know, I'm still got the one where Dave just flings it across the court lackadaisically to start the second half, and Landers is trying to maybe do a little too much in the open floor versus sharing it. Like, those are the ones that you go, come on, you know. And imagine how I felt at Memphis after 22. It's like I couldn't get it out of my head, for gosh sakes. But you know, you do look down, and 20 is really good. And I think the lesson that we'll continue to preach to this team and show to this team and get this team to buy into is when we do our job offensively and we run and we get into the right spots and we just make the simple, obvious pass, we got really good players that then have an advantage that can make plays. When we try to do a little too much, everybody that watches us knows that's where we get in some trouble. And I thought we did a good job tonight for the most part of just making the simple play and letting the ball find the right guy.
Team looked pretty fresh today, obviously, with a week off. Is it good to have this now stretch and almost another full week off until Friday? Looked like things were kind of moving really well, especially in the first half.
Yeah, well, I do think you gotta take advantage of opportunities. And somebody asked me in my press conference, do you like a week off or more? I don't get into, it is what it is, whatever's in front of you, take advantage of it. I thought our guys did a nice job of taking care of themselves, their bodies, and getting to work this week. We're gonna have to do the same thing coming up this week to get ready for the conference tournament. I also think like Dan Skillings has taken a step as a player. I know he doesn't have a great line tonight, but the confidence to be able to have him in the game more and longer and later in the game, it allows us to get more rest for those other guys on the perimeter. And I think that's gonna make us look a little fresher down the stretch of games too. So I thought, his development has impacted our team, even if you don't look down and go, what a night from Dan Skillings. And then we talked about the front court depth. I think the more depth you have, the fresher you're gonna look throughout a 40-minute game.
Zurich Phelps, AEC's leader in steals coming into this game, doesn't have one on the afternoon. Was that a big key of emphasis to your guards going into this matchup, keeping an eye on him?
It's always a big key just to make the right play and be strong with the ball. And everybody in this league has length and athleticism and guys that can get after it. We didn't spend a ton of time talking about Phelps in that way. We spent a ton of time with Phelps talking about he's really damn good. Let's make everything tough. Because you look down, he gets 17. I mean, he gets 17, but you know he's going to get some. You want to see the 3 turnovers. You want to see the 6 for 15 because you can't keep him all the way down. I mean, you saw tonight, guy, he makes some plays, right? He's a good player. That's what we spent the most time with Phelps talking about.
2 more?
Pulled out the draft there right before half. We've got turnover and one on the other end. Does that tempt you to maybe unleash it a little bit more?
Justin, you just play into my emotions. You get to know me pretty well. You guys all know I love that stuff. I love anything that takes away the comfort of the other team. And so, trapping and pressing and getting aggressive, that just plays to my personality as a coach. We could never do enough of that for me, but that hasn't been the best weapon consistently for this team. But it is something that we work on in practice, and we're getting a better understanding. Like that play, number one, I think it was Dave and Landers in the double team. They did a great job of forming a great double. And sometimes you spend time trying to form a double, but it's not an aggressive double. They formed it, and it was aggressive. We get the deflection. And the other 3 did a nice job of rotating on time. We tried to press a little bit early. We weren't figuring that out with all 5 guys. So maybe it's something we can do a little more of, here in the postseason.
Scott? Yep. One more? All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you.